Must be a very controversial item on the agenda for tonight. Uh, Kickoff started. All right, have they kicked off, Council? They. Oh, okay. The pledge is going on. So, Councilmember Boyette, Deputy Mayor Boyette, will be your official scorekeeper and announcer for the rest of the evening, I believe. So, anyway, welcome. This is a special day. Very exciting for the people sitting at this table. Very exciting for the people in the audience. Very exciting for our community, and trust me, exciting for those who are leaving the council as well. I just want to take a minute to explain what we're going to do this evening so that everybody's clear about our procedure for tonight's swearing-in ceremony. I will not be officially calling our meeting to order, as that will be done later after Mayor Nelson has been sworn in. They will begin the regular work session at the end of the ceremony. And in just a minute, Judge Kolar will administer the oath of office for all of our new city council members as a group together. I will ask the 6 new council members to leave their seats in just a minute at the tables here and join Judge Kolar and me up here in front of the dais. And when you do that, please line up according to ward number, with Ward 1 being farthest there to the east. Family members and friends, you're welcome. When we get up there to come forward, fill in around the edges. If you would like to take photographs of the swearing in, just ask you to be considerate of those who might be behind you. It may be a little chaotic. If you don't have a camera, don't worry about it. We have our record specialist, Danny Fagan, who will also be taking photographs, and those will be available tomorrow. But please don't ask him to take the picture of your family, because his hands are going to be more than full. Judge Kolar will then have each new council member sign, after they have been administered the verbal oath. She'll ask you all to sign your written oath at the podium there. And then Judge Kolar will be invited to leave and go watch the game, because her business here will be done. And then things might get a little chaotic, because I will ask the council members again to go back to their numerical order up here. And then beginning with Ward 1, I'll give everybody an opportunity, if you would like to make any remarks. And also, if you've got family or friends that you would like to invite up with you in front of the dais, we will take your individual photograph, or Danny will. And if you've got any other friends, you can snap that picture. When you are other council members, when that's going on, if you just move off to the sides so that they can have that picture to themselves. And then after each council member has had an opportunity to make any remarks and we've been able to snap a picture, if you would then, council members, return to your seat here, and if your family would go back and sit down, and that will remove some of the people up here. And then we'll save Mayor Nelson for the end. And after Mayor Nelson has made his remarks and his family or friends have returned to their seats, I will present him with a real gavel, not just his knuckles. And then I will ride off into the sunset. Or more accurately, I will go to Hooligans, where somebody's supposed to be saving a seat for the game. So Mayor Nelson will then call the work session to order, and the council will proceed with the work session meeting unless they vote to adjourn and also go to Hooligans or wherever they can find a TV tonight. So again, thank you everyone for being here. With that, if the new council members elect would join me and Judge Kolar at the dais now, please. Thank you, Judge. Congratulations, everyone. With that, we'll start with now Councilmember Nicholson. So if you want to invite friends or family up, please feel free to do so.
My wife. This is my wife, the best thing that ever happened to me. So no one is elected to public office without a lot of help. I would like to thank the many people who worked to get me elected. These people include Josiah Purcell, Max Urbanetes, and all the people at Montana Rural Voters, Kristen Stewart, Faith Scout, and all the people at Big Sky 55 Plus, Jesse Gallegos, Molly Bell, and all the people at Montana Conservation Voters, Perry Kemnick, and all the people at Forward Montana. I would also like to thank Jim Nichols, who got the campaign off to a terrific start and who wrangled the yard signs. Jordan Ferrero, who campaigned from his front yard. Jenna Martin, who told me where to go and what to do when I got there. Lionel Tappy, who was always there to help knock on doors and who convinced my wife to move to Billings and join the Children's Clinic 21 years ago. Mark Sevier, who convinced me to move to Billings 21 years ago. And especially Morgan Sevier, the best campaign treasurer on the planet. I would also like to recognize my opponent, David Redman, for giving voters a choice, which is an essential feature of a democratic society. And finally, I would like to thank Laura Nicholson, my wife of 40 years. I can only hope that she will stay with me the next 4. Now it's time to get to work and keep Billings the best place ever.
All right, I'll invite my family up. There's a crew of them here. I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. It really shows the importance of elections and campaigning, but good people stepping forward to do tough work for the community. Tonight I have with me my wife. You can come stand next to me over here. My daughter Emily and her husband Gavin, and baby on the way. We have to make the public announcement there. My daughter Deandra and my youngest son Ryan. Thank you for being here and for supporting me throughout my campaign and throughout all of my time in public office. This is an amazing community and we have a lot of opportunities ahead of us. It's always easy to get caught up in all the negative things or what's going to be difficult. But I think we've got an amazing council and an amazing mayor that's going to lead this city and this community in great and new ways. I don't have a great speech like Mark did and do all of that, but I did want to acknowledge that Dick and Nancy Pence are here. They're good friends of mine. They've been supporting me and giving me encouragement throughout all of this. There's other people out in the crowd. I see all of you, and I appreciate all of the help and support. And one thing I always ask everybody is to continue to pray for this council and this mayor. We need all the prayers we can get. It gives us the support and the strength to go forward. So thank you.
Hello, I'd like to invite my family to come forward and join me up here, please. Family and friends who really just want to be a big part of this campaign, I invite you as well. We're Mexican and we're Catholic. It's a big family. Thank you. I am so overwhelmed with joy and gratitude for the trust that's been placed in me. From the folks who helped me on the doors to the people who told me what doors to go to, and to the love and support of my wonderful family members. My oldest son couldn't be here today. He's in Okinawa serving in the Air Force, but he sends his love, so he's here in spirit. I just, when I started my campaign, it was because I wanted to see something of myself reflected in city leadership. And I really didn't see that in a variety of ways, but one of the most obvious ways is, there's no person of color on our council. And um, it's, it's important to me to recognize that I'm the first woman of color on this council. And that does not escape me as to how important that is and how much that kind of puts on my shoulders. But I proudly carry that because it's far too long since we've had good leadership that is more reflective of our community. And I'm proud to be a glass ceiling breaker in that respect. But thanks be to God, thanks be to all of my family and my friends. And yes, let's pray for this council, pray for the good work, and we'll continue to create a thriving and bustling city. Thank you.
Okay, my family can come up now. There we go. That feels better. You guys going to come to every meeting? Okay. First of all, as I drove here tonight and I brought my mom with me when I came, she asked if I was nervous. And surprisingly, I said no. Normally, I'm super nervous in situations like this, but I'm just really, really honored and excited. See so many people out in the audience that I know supported my campaign that I've known for years and helped push me over the edge. Mark mentioned, as did Amy, the campaign season, it was long. And I put a lot of miles on these actual shoes, up to 50 miles in a single week talking to voters. So I'm excited to listen to more people, whether you're from Ward 4 or anywhere else in the city. It's just important that we do the work, show up, and work together, which I'm really excited about. I think we're going to have some really effective meetings here going forward. So anyway, thanks to my family, thanks to all of you, and I'm excited to get started.
Elaine and Christine, the boys. This is a great honor. I appreciate it. This is my daughter, Christine, and her sons, Riley and Bryce, and my wife of 46 years, Elaine, without whom either of these people, I wouldn't have been able to do this or be willing to do it. But knowing that I had their support was very, very important to me. I want to thank all the people who helped get me here. Certainly, it was a lot of work, on the candidates' part, but a lot of people helped me through contributions, through support, and one of the most amazing things that happened to me when I was on the Public Service Commission is that I was at the house of one person who was here, and he invited everybody to come and place their hands on me and pray for me. That was just absolutely remarkable. So I echo the words of, I think, Dennis Pittman. please pray for us. This is not an easy job, and one that is going to require a lot of time, but I pledge to do my best, and I thank you for all your support.
I have a few remarks, about 6 hours worth, but I'd like to have my family, my extended family, Mr. and Mrs. Maragos. Can you come up here with me, please? This is my support system. Thank you to everybody. And thank you to the support system that I had out there, helping with the advice and the counsel and the calming down. Don't worry, Mike, it's going to be okay. It was a long, hard slog. But I think what helped me through it, obviously, is the friendship and the love of these people here. So thank you, everybody. 132 years, 133 years ago, Billings was formed out of the sagebrush on the prairie of the beautiful Montana landscape, right? And shortly thereafter, we were at 10,000 people. We were the magic city. And guess what? We still are the magic city. So I will urge the 11 of us, along with our staff, to remember that we are going to go forward and we are going to build greatness on top of the magic. That's our mission, to do it with grace and dignity and respect, and not with an only know mentality. We can do more than one thing at once because we're smart people, right? Well, okay, you guys are. I challenge this council for the next term to remember that we can grow and we can meet those gnarly budgets and we can do it all. Maybe not everything all at once, but we can think about it all at once. And we can move forward with grace and respect. So please pray for us that we're able to do that. Thank you, everybody.
You're almost done. We haven't done this in the past. All right, anybody gets out of line, they get to chop.
Wow. It's my honor to call the work session for January 5th, 2026 order. Hey, that's not so bad. Well, welcome everybody. Tonight is a work session. It's an informal meeting where we, as the council and staff, get to discuss some matters in depth. We're not going to make any real decisions tonight, hopefully, but we're going to tackle a few issues on our first meeting. So the first up on the agenda is, excuse me, a public comment on all items. So folks, I'll tell you right now, this is a time to comment on any matter, agenda or non-agenda, that falls within the scope of the Billings City Council. There will also be time in conjunction with each agenda item for public comment tonight, relating only to that item. So remember, you get to speak only once. The first time you can talk about any issue that we can talk about, and then after that, you can come up and speak on a different item if you have a different subject to speak of. Please note, we're not going to take any action on any significant interest to the public that does not appear on the agenda. Your comments tonight are going to be limited to 3 minutes during each public comment. Speaker sign-in is required. That's back there in the corner as you came in. So if you haven't signed in and you want to speak, please do. When you come up to speak to us, please start by introducing yourself. It'd be nice to hear your name and your address if you so wish to give it, or if not, just a general area of the city in which you live. So I'm opening it up right now to public comment. Hello.
Hello, can I go?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, my name is Tucker Colvin. I live in the North Park neighborhood of Billings. First of all, I want to welcome you all to the new council and congratulations on your election win. I'm really happy to work with you all and I'm glad you're all here. Last city council meeting, I spoke to you all about the recent incidents of hatefulness in our community, and I provided you with a report on hate and discrimination in Billings. For those of you who are new to the council, I will email this to you so everybody has it. And in context of that and the recent events that have happened, I wanted to discuss a bit more today the context of passing a non-discrimination ordinance, or an NDO. And I know this has been attempted many times and people are hesitant about the need for an NDO in Billings. And I also know some of you have doubted and dismissed the prospect of adopting an NDO recently when asked about it by the pastor of a local church who strongly supports an NDO. And I hope you have all read this report. I think it provides a lot of great information on why it's important to have such an ordinance in our community. And yes, I obviously know that passing a non-discrimination ordinance does not eliminate hate and discrimination in our community. However, it provides a reporting and enforcement tool and sends a message to community members that we see hate and discrimination as a serious issue here. Because some of you are hesitant about an NDO, let me tell you why I personally think it's important. I am a straight white man, like it appears many of you are, which there's nothing wrong with that. We can't change that. So I don't really experience a lot of discrimination. However, I know a lot of people who don't look like me and they live in a different reality, some more so than others, and how they live and how they experience this world and the discrimination that they experience. I listen to these people and I listen to their stories, and I also believe in the data that shows that people have different economic and social realities than I do and experience hate-motivated crimes and incidences. For me, it's about freedom, a key value in our country and one that both political parties hold dearly. I experience this world free of discrimination, which gives me the freedom to pursue my goals and passions. I have the freedom from discrimination that others may not have, and that breaks my heart. I want everybody to experience the world more like I do, and it makes me incredibly sad and upset that some people don't, for characteristics that they have absolutely no control over, or their choice of religion or other traits. Freedom from discrimination is more important to me than I think somebody's freedom to discriminate others might be. I hope you all have empathy for people in the community who may not look like yourself or may have different religion or sexuality. So please consider taking up an NDO this term. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and my name is Katie Harrison, and I live on the South Side. And I want to congratulate and welcome everyone that recently got elected, and I also want to thank you all for stepping up to this leadership position, and I'm just very grateful to all of you guys. I have a few comments. One is I would love to see general comment to be moved to the beginning of city council meetings. I believe in the past, I first moved here in 2022. For some time, it seemed that at least every other meeting, general comment was at the beginning. I don't know when or why it changed, unless I'm imagining that, but I think it would allow for more public input, especially on, like, you know, let's say something terrible happened yesterday or something wonderful happened yesterday. And then today's a city council meeting and people want to come in and voice their opinions on it, and it happens to not be an agenda item. You know, you're missing out on hearing from your constituents. So that's one thought. I also wanted to second what Tucker said. We've been doing, just as friends and community members, a lot of digging into the topic and the existence of hate crimes and hate groups in Billings. I don't think it's a surprise to anyone to hear that the Not in Our Town movement started right here in Billings just over 30 years ago. And of course, that started with the community coming together and a beautiful, but also very strong, loud, and unified voice against something very real, very hateful, and very terrifying for residents of this town at that time. Just because Not in Our Town movement started doesn't mean hate went away. I have a trans Indigenous friend who was a target of neo-Nazis just over 1 year ago. Any existing or incumbent city council members definitely know what I'm talking about, because I've emailed you guys probably at least a dozen times about that incident. To my knowledge, nothing has come of it, despite the fact that there's cameras everywhere these days. There was another incident at the courthouse in March of this year involving neo-Nazis, one of which is a convicted felon on a 100-year deferred sentence for violently attacking a police officer. Is that 3 minutes? So, and then recently we had more examples of white supremacy, neo-Nazi hate in the form of swastikas. This problem isn't going away. We need a loud, strong, unified voice, and Billings is the only major city in our state to not have an NDO. We got to do something to change that. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Paul Clark, Southside, Mr. Mayor, council members. You're going to hear me almost every week, and I'm going to bring it every week, about the sugar factory and its pollution, and we have to get out of control of it. We also have to be very careful about how we do that. For an example, in Sidney, Montana, that sugar factory closed down, and what happened? They left the ponds there. It's a waste site. We got to be careful with Billings Western Sugar Company. I don't want to run them out of business. I just want them to be a better neighbor. And the only way to do that is through recognition. And if that takes them to walk around their perimeter with us, because it's the word blight, it's very dirty, it's very bad. There's a lot of ground seepage that heads from the sugar factory straight to our beautiful Yellowstone River. And the contamination in the ground, in our well waters, you can see it in the homes. Anybody with a light-toned house, you can see the rust and stain, and that's not just from iron. That's from the sugar factory. I'm probably, not bragging, 4th generation in this area. You mentioned 1883 or so. Yeah, that was a couple of my great-grandfathers that got off that train. When we had well waters, and we did a lot of that, there wasn't none of this. Paint the fence white, paint the house white, it stayed white. Now when you paint the house or a fence, it turns an ugly brown. Why is that? Pollution. Just like the plume that is leaving the Big Sky dry cleaning. That ground is heading straight down the sugar factory route, also down the railroad track, straight to the river. That plume is nasty business, folks. We're not going to get that money to clean it. It's going to be bad. So I got to stay focused on that. That's why I'm going to come to you every week. Let's make them a better neighbor. Be them aware. I've asked them to come to the Southside Task Force many times, along with the Phillips Conoco. They've done some work with the South Side, with the South Park. That's great, but still, keep the monitors on them. Don't let them up. I got more minutes, but you know me. All right, blessings and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Shay Reiser, and I live South Central Billings. To the incoming mayor and incoming city council members, welcome, and welcome back to our previous city council members. Billings has faced multiple and increasing hate crime and racially biased incidents and attacks in the last couple of years. This problem is clearly not going away, but is instead getting worse. A non-discrimination ordinance has been brought up numerous times, including when Tom Hannell was Billings mayor. After 8 months of testimony by hundreds of people and thousands of letters written to the council, Mayor Tom Hannell made the statement that Billings just isn't ready, before casting the deciding vote to kill the ordinance, along with Dennis, Angela, Rich, and Sean. It has also been brought up several times since I've resided here, just since 2021, through Billings, through public comment and letters and emails to the city council. The previous council and mayor have turned their head to the idea, citing that it's too hard to enforce. It would appear to me that it would make a punishment of a hate crime easier to enforce, since the law would be crystal clear, not murky and muddy as it currently stands. Most of the larger cities in the state of Montana have an NDO, to include Missoula in 2010, Helena in 2012, Butte in 2014, Bozeman in 2014, and even Whitefish in 2016. The ACLU of Montana has the following to say about Billings not having an NDO. As Montana's largest city, Billings should lead the way for fairness in the Big Sky. Unfortunately, the Billings City Council failed to pass an ordinance protecting the LGBT community. By a vote of 6-5, Billings became the first city in Montana to deny protections to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender individuals in housing, employment, and access to public accommodations. It's about time that our leadership in Billings start to care about and protect all of its citizens from harm and discrimination. I implore you once and for all to finally do the right thing. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Kettleson, and I live on the west side. I just want to take a moment to congratulate all the brand new city council members and especially the mayor. Congratulations. It was a wonderful election. It was very hard fought, and it was extremely close.
Yeah.
Some of our citizens voted one way, and some of our citizens voted the other way. But the bottom line is that we all have faith in every single one of you that you're going to represent the taxpayers in a responsible manner. I personally didn't support some of you, but that really doesn't matter because I am a resident here just like you are residents. So I'm going to put my disagreements aside with you, and I'm going to support you 100%. And I hope to God you guys do a good job, and I pray for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello. Hi, I'm Sonia Davis, and I live and own a business downtown. I just had a couple of things I wanted to say. First of all, the last time I was here to give public comment, there was a comment made that the city council is using AI for its meeting note purposes. Is that still the case? Or I don't know. Anyways, to my knowledge, it is. And I would just like to encourage the council and the mayor and other people from the city to maybe look at some of the dangers of that when it comes to environmental, as well as content corruption within these algorithms. I don't think AI is a very appropriate tool to be used for the public record. The next thing is addressing the new council. Welcome, congratulations, and thank you. This has to be a thankless job, but thank you for stepping up to do it and for being of service to your community in this way. I'm really excited at the fresh voices and ideas. I loved hearing everybody's comments after they were sworn in. It gives me a lot of hope. As a lifelong member of the Billings community, I do have some things to say in regards to how our community is changing and has changed over the 40-some years that I've been here. The first one is inclusivity. I'm gonna kind of just echo what the other people said before me. An NDO would be a really good step. It sends a message, and it also gives citizens the opportunity to bring up civil charges if they are the victim of a hate crime. So it's empowering people to advocate for their own justice. The other thing, value I think Billings has is liberty. I think this is true of all Montanans. And so in that vein, I would like to encourage the city to say no to surveillance, to any surveillance from that just violates our privacy. We're private people and we value that. And so anything that violates that, I think, goes against our values. The next is safety. Public safety is something that's brought up in every campaign. And on this, I think that safety, we owe it to our neighbors to keep each other safe. And one of those ways is keeping ICE out of Billings. I would like Billings to take a stand as far as not cooperating with illegal federal agencies and their actions. Public trust, accountability, and transparency goes a long way. And lastly, humanity and compassion. To face the unique challenges of our houseless community, exploring low barrier shelters. In 2021, there was a police report that recommended sobering centers. Perhaps this council could look at the work that's already been done in providing creative solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any further public comment? Any further public comment? Seeing none, I'm going to close that section and move on to the next. Before we begin, though, because one of our members is not here tonight, I'm doing something I'm sure is really fun. Councilman Aspenleiter had an issue on the timing of traffic impact study submittals, and it was scheduled for the third part of our agenda tonight. Since he's not here, and since the mayor has authority to change the agenda a little bit with consensus from the council, I would recommend that we remove that item until Mr. Aspenleiter can be here. If we just have a nodding of the heads, we can get consensus. All right, so we'll remove item 3. And that brings us to item 1, amendment to Lockwood Water and Sewer Agreement, our first piece of business. So, Mr. Kukowski?
Yes.
You got it.
Mayor Nelson and Council Louis Engels is going to help us in this conversation to get rolling. And as was stated, tonight is not a decision-making night, but we thought it was critical before this comes to you next week for a decision, that that we have the conversation, at least get it started. And for those who are continuing on the council, we did get to also kick it off a little bit this morning in orientation. Nothing at all relative to decisions or what's the right or wrong thing to do, but all relative to some background on just somewhat unique nature that Billings has got for wholesale customers, the two refineries, Lockwood and the Heights Water District. So tonight, though, we're here just to kind of lay some foundation work, answer some questions, and have you in a position so that a week from tonight, if you're comfortable, you can make a decision relative to a request that is before us. So both Jennifer Dre and Lewis are here to to present the information, answer questions, and set you up for next week. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lewis and hand him the mic.
Thanks, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Lewis Singles. I'm the water quality superintendent, so I have the privilege to operate two of the biggest city assets in the water treatment plant and the water reclamation facility. Tonight I'm here to talk about the Lockwood Water and Sewer District. I believe Jennifer had mentioned to some of you that we have some outside agreements with other entities, one of which is Lockwood, to treat their wastewater. That does not mean that we own their conveyance systems or the pipes in the ground in Lockwood, but we, through an agreement since 2008, accept their wastewater and treat it before returning it to the Yellowstone. Thanks, Chris. We've had an agreement since 2008 with the Lockwood Water and Sewer District. That was established giving the Lockwood Water and Sewer District the right to send water to be treated at our water reclamation facility. It's flow limited, so they can, currently it's up to 80% of 910,000 gallons per day. It's also concentration limited. They can't just send us anything. It has to be typical municipal wastewater. And also part of that agreement was that they cannot expand service area without the city's written consent, which is why I'm here before you tonight. And then in 2021, that agreement was amended to include the Lockwood Targeted Economic Development District. Late this fall, they approached us about adding an additional property to the service area that you'll see on the next slide here. That's a single 8.5 acre parcel that's situated between the original service area and the service area that was amended as part of Amendment 1. So here's a map of the Lockwood Water and Sewer District service area. That area highlighted in blue there is the original service area for the Lockwood Water and Sewer District that was agreed upon in 2008. Then there in orange was Amendment 1 that was included. That's the TED study area that was also amended to be part of the service area. You might notice there's a small parcel in between there. It's unclear this time whether or not that parcel was intended to be included in the original Lockwood Water and Sewer District. I'm not certain why it wasn't, but the property owner is now seeking to be included as part of that district and is the subject of Amendment 2, which is proposed. Here's a little closer look at this property. It's very near the I-90 Johnson Lane interchange across the interstate there from Brett's RV. Again, they intend it to be a commercial property that's going to be about 8.5 acres. So in order to expand the service area for sewer, the city code requires through section 26203 that the property be contiguous to the service area and that the requirements of section 26204 are met. 26204 requires annexation or attempted annexation in order to obtain water or sewer service. A waiver of right to protest annexation may be accepted in lieu of annexation at City Council's discretion. Alternatively, Section 26207 allows City Council to waive the requirements of Section 203 and 204 after a public hearing. However, 207 also requires that the applicant submit a waiver of right to protest annexation. However, it should be noted that in the original agreement, as well as in Amendment 1, we did not require them to submit a waiver of right to protest annexation. So that's the question I have before you tonight, I guess in your first official business. Do you want to allow the subject property showed there on the map to be included in the Lockwood Water and Sewer District? If that is what you would like to do, the next steps would be to hold a public hearing to expand the service area. The named majority vote would be required to waive Section 203, 26203, and 204 after that public hearing. And then additionally, I'd like to get your input on the waiver of right to protest annexation that is in 26207. Again, we did not require that for the original agreement or in Amendment 1. That's all I have for you. Go ahead and open it up for questions.
Let's just try a little free form here tonight. Who wants to go first with questions? Councilmember Boyette.
Just one question. What do we charge Lockwood now? Do we charge them the same fee that every taxpayer in Billings gets? Or do we charge them double or triple or quadruple fees? You know,
I'll let Jen take that question.
Councilmember Boyette, we have an agreement with them, and so per that agreement, we calculate the rates based on the assets they use of our system. So it's not the same rate that everybody else pays because they don't use our distribution system at all, or our transmission system at all. So it's actually lower, but they pay us about $500,000 a year right now.
I guess my question is, as a follow-up, is that the citizens of Billings paid for the system and we're allowing someone else to use it. They should pay more than average person. It's just my opinion, but so you're saying they don't because they don't use it very much?
Correct. Both because their strengths are pretty low and their actual discharge to us isn't that high. They don't pay us that much. However, we do have a pretty good agreement with them in that part of the calculation to calculate what rates they pay includes a 15% rate of return. And on top of that, we also have a 6% surcharge that's, once we calculate the cost of their services, they pay us an additional 6% of their revenues for the risk that we have taken on to treat them. We also, for the 2021 amendment, when we amended and added the TED, we have an 18% surcharge for that area when or if it builds out because of the unknowns of what might develop in that area.
So the piece I would add, Deputy Mayor, would be they're not apples to apples comparisons in simple terms because they had to install, pay for, and maintain their pipes. Whereas all of us in the city are covering our pipes and our treatment. The surcharges are meant, I think, to accomplish what you're saying, which is if you do equalize what it is that they're using of ours versus what they're responsible for, we are bringing in more money than what it would be otherwise. But like I said, it's not as simple of an answer as to say, are their rates higher or lower than ours? But we believe that the contract does provide the users and the utility customers a respectable value for the partnership. It's not a giveaway on behalf of the city.
Councilmember Neese.
Thank you, Mayor. Just quick before we get started on this, Jennifer, do we have a written application on this that they've actually filled out? I think the last time we looked at this was in the sewer when they wanted to connect. There's a process they have to follow. Are they following that process with a written application?
So Councilmember Neese, Gina and I conferred about this a little bit just late this afternoon. We didn't have them fill out an application just as they didn't last time. It was a written request via email is what they did.
Okay, because I think we ran into some problems last time with that not having an application filled out. Will we have an application completed by the time this comes?
Councilmember Neese, are you referring to the mobile home park water conversation we had just before Christmas?
Correct.
Because the only other amendment to the district boundary was the TED addition. So I think we're talking about two different animals there. In this case, a written request from them back then to expand their district consistent with our contract or our agreement with them, and now a written request here. There's not a mandated application process.
Okay, so, and I guess this goes to Gina then. So Gina, our code doesn't require, or our code does or doesn't require that the property owner fill out an application, or is it only the TED that is requesting this?
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Neese. It's my opinion that the code is written very poorly. It can be argued either way. However, it's my interpretation that I believe it was intended that anytime there's a water or wastewater service area enlargement, that an application was to be filed.
Okay, thank you. And again, this is just a work session. I would ask that maybe an application be completed by someone in the process so we have a written request that we can actually act upon. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember Aguirre.
Thank you. It's been something on my mind about this with this little parcel, little parcel being excluded in the annexation. It almost felt deliberate, like whoever proposed the annexation maybe deliberately omitted that little space. It would be interesting to hear the context behind how that happened. And I'm not suggesting anything nefarious. I'm just really curious as to the history and how to put that into context. So I guess that's not a question, but does anybody have any history on that?
CM Pittman?
Yeah, so actually, I was around during a lot of this, both either on the council or as a commissioner. And this little parcel is part of an area that when we were parceling up between whether they were going to be in the TED or they wanted to be in that, and some of them got left out, and some of them, the families or the people owning the property just never committed in a timeline. So some of them got left out. We spent a couple of years slowly bringing them either into the TED and expanding the TED or expanding the Lockwood district. This is just a simple action for us to bring them into the Lockwood district. It's not committing us to anything other than bringing this parcel in and making this whole piece unified. So I think it's a simple fix. I think we can overthink this one because we're already 3 or 4 steps down on where they want to be. And it's just a matter of whether they want to be in the TED or they want to be in the Lockwood district. And I think that's what's before us tonight and next week. And it's actually a pretty simple call just to unify this little parcel.
Do we know if there's Lockwood water adjacent to this property? Do they expect to be connecting to this fairly soon? And then is this property located right at the new the outer belt loop that goes across the river into the heights?
Councilmember Neese, I can't speak to whether or not there's water directly adjacent from the system that Lockwood serves there. I know there is some discussion in the amendment that we previously had with them about this excluding anything related to water. Again, with the sewer service that we provide them, it's treatment only. So I certainly can look into that and see exactly where their water system stops if you'd like. But again, just the treatment, because we only treat their wastewater, I'm less familiar with their service area as it regards to water.
It seems to me like this is, now that there's a road built across the river there, that this is going to be much more easier access for the city to service. And it may be behoove us to make sure that we're making sure we're collecting that waiver of annexation, so that that may be the first property, if this develops well, that we do something like that on. And I would also consider maybe looking at if we're changing that agreement with the Lockwood. I mean, this is the time, anytime a negotiation is open to negotiate, that's the time to look at other things that we want to do. And especially with the tax structure changing so much from the state, what is the possibility of actually having that ability to include that waiver of annexation for all of the properties in the district? What would they say to having that agreement open up? And I wouldn't say we would annex all the property. That's not the point. But the point would be there could be a lot of commercial property that we could service, and that we may want to, since we're providing that service, to get that tax revenue from them.
Thank you, Councilman. Shaw?
Thanks. I don't really see any downside to bringing this in. I feel like I hear the points of getting into the contract, but to me, it just seems kind of odd to punish this tiny little triangle that accidentally got left out of one area or another, when everyone surrounding them has the same deal. So I guess I would say, to answer your question, yes, bring them in. I don't have any reservations with that. My question for Gina, though, is, Gina, would you legally advise us to require a waiver for annexation on this one, even though the surrounding properties don't have it? Does that create any problems, or would you say just going forward we should just always do that?
Councilmember Shaw, it's my interpretation from city code and the water and wastewater regulations, specifically 26-207 of city code, that in all circumstances where an enlargement of a service area has been approved or conditionally approved, but annexation has been denied, prior to the provision of services by the city, the applicant shall enter into a service agreement, which we have here, and shall submit a written waiver of right to protest annexation. I think that that's a mandatory requirement. I don't believe it's discretionary. In my research, it looks like that specific language was added in 2016. So I don't know if there was other language in 2008 that required it or allowed it to be more discretionary. But it was added in 2016. Maybe as a result of 2008. I don't know, that's speculation, but for whatever reason, that wasn't followed in 2020 or 21
That's
when
what
it
I was
was
trying to remember
amended.
back
So
to.
I don't know why that happened.
Well, I would defer to the city attorney, and if that's the recommendation, then I would say that's what we should do.
All right. Mr. Boyette.
So we've had this issue for a long time about letting people use our services that aren't in the city limits. My concern, and maybe this is to Gina, would we be setting another precedent of saying, oh no, you can have city sewer, but you don't have to be annexed at the time that we're doing this? There's tons of people on the West End that are having trouble with their water now, and they can say, well, geez, you let these people do it, and we live next to the city. Can we just take your sewer like they did? I mean, that's my big concern as we're setting a precedent.
I think it's always problematic when you have rules in place that you don't follow those rules. It can create issues later, a whole variety of different issues. That could be one of them. If there was ever a challenge, a court could look at that and say you didn't. It could present a whole host of issues. So I would always advise, if you implement rules, you need to follow those rules.
Mr. Kokowski.
I would just add for the record too, when we did the TED expansion, the staff recommendation was, we debated with the county for quite some time and with Lockwood that it should require waivers. Not for all of Lockwood, that was a prior decision that was made at the time of the Lockwood agreement. but to expand it into this whole new industrial park area, which I think has a significant potential to help pay the bills and make our community a even more thriving community. But the decision was made. Policy decision was we're not going to require annexation or waivers on them. But as Gina is saying, our policy tells us we shall, and I don't think it's ever too late to do the right thing. And in this case, this land, it's been communicated to me through their representative. It's not a change issue for their decision. They're caught in a space where literally their 8.5 acres don't have access to sewer. And so it shouldn't be a big surprise that they're willing to sign a waiver as one property owner versus the dozens of property owners. I also think, though, you won't get someone to sign a waiver later. You only get waivers signed when there's a need. And I do believe, just my professional speculation is, someday the Lockwood TED is going to need our water. And we said at that time, when they need the water, you are going to be required to waive annexation or annex in. And the TED has arguably not been very successful in recruiting industry. And I think it's because they don't have access to enough clean drinking water. So even though this is only 8.5 acres amongst this whole component, it's contiguous to the TED. I think it sets us up for some future council to be in a better position than they are today to fix the decisions of the past, to at least get the waiver.
Okay, so do we know the precipitating event though? What brought this 8.89 acres up for this request?
The property owner wants to develop the land. They don't have access to municipal sewer without something changing.
It's a new property or coming in to develop the land, do we know?
I don't know.
That's
I don't know the land, I don't know the owner of the land or if it's being sold or transferred in ownership, but it's my assumption that they're asking, as any other property owner is asking, somebody wants to develop it. And a condition of buying it and or developing it is that they've got to have, they see the need for access to municipal services.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, I think if we get the waiver.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Let me, there's a couple others here who haven't had a chance to talk. So anything, Mr. Lindley?
Thanks. Yeah, I would just say from my perspective, I feel like anytime that somebody's going to be using city services, we should have those waivers going forward. We can't do anything to fix the past, but I just think for simple consistency that's exactly the way that we should go.
All right.
Yes, I agree that we should require the waivers. Otherwise, our Billings citizens don't get to go a la carte. They buy the whole meal. And what we're doing is letting these outlying areas go a la carte. And I think it does violence to our tax base, and it puts more burden on residential taxpayers when we don't annex industrial and commercial areas.
Thank you. Tim O'Donnell, anything? All right. CM Neese?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I think if we are going to get the waiver, that's the best scenario here.
Okay.
This property is an island there. It's going to be probably a gateway into the Heights. I'm not sure what they're going to develop there, but I look forward to seeing more development right on the edge of the Heights there. So I think this would be a good opportunity. I just, maybe it'll be the first property we're able to annex in someday because we have the waiver in place and can have more property annexed in the city in the future, but well after I'm on council or even around probably, because this is a long-term game that we have to play and look forward to the future. So in my opinion, I think it's not bad, but I would like to make sure the paperwork is done. And,
agreed.
Have everything in order, the application, and so that we have actually something in the application to approve.
So let me see if I can boil this down, and please somebody jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but looks like we would like you to bring forward to us this issue through an application process and an agreement for a waiver to protest. Does that sound about right? Okay, we don't need to vote on it. We have nods, so that's good. We have time now scheduled for public comment on this issue. Is there any public comment on this issue? Remember, you can speak on this issue and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Jeff Kettleson. I'm a voter of our great city, Billings. This is the second time that this type of issue has come up. And I've listened to a story about the mobile home park wanting water and whatnot. What I really don't understand is why as a city are we providing services to property with a waiver without just annexing them in right away? If we have a waiver, we give them our city services. Let's say they decide to go and build whatever they want to build over there under the county laws, and then it comes back to you people and you say, well, we'd like to bring it in, and all of a sudden an unpermitted use in that area is already in place and they're grandfathered in. I think that it would be more prudent for the city that if we're going to provide city services to any property, that we annex it in to begin with right away, and make it that way. The city provides the services. They also control what's allowed to be built on that property. You know, specifically the last one with the mobile home park, when the guy said, well, I have an unpermitted business on my property, and we don't want to come into the city because we have an unpermitted business there. I went over there and I took a look at it. This property is huge. You get the mobile home park over here. You got all these industrial buildings, and then way at the end over here is the unpermitted business. So the mobile home park is providing water for all these different businesses. That never came before the city council. Nobody knew about it, and you guys were going to vote to give away city services to this property. Thank God it didn't happen. But this issue is a huge issue that faces our residents, because we have zoning laws, and it takes away the opportunity for the citizens to protest against a business that might not want in their neighborhood. Now, this specifically doesn't affect me, but I think that this loophole, it's a loophole, and I think it's been abused, and I think it's going to be abused again, and I don't understand it. So my recommendation is, if you're going to provide city services, you should annex the property right away. Be done with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment on this issue? All right, I'll call this item closed, and we'll move on to number 2, Parks, Recreation, and Public Land Fees. And hey, thanks you two. Nice job. Are you ready, Mr. City Administrator?
Yes, Mr. Nelson, Mayor Nelson. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Walcher here, our Parks and Rec Public Lands Director. And as with your materials again, tonight, just as a reminder, we're not making any final decisions, but these are some conversations that are coming up later in January. So we wanted to err on the side of more conversation and preparation than just putting things on action items. So we've got Corey here, who runs our recreational programming side of the house, working with Gavin and running Parks Rec and Public Land. So I'm going to turn it over to him and step out just real quickly and talk to the utility folks.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Approximately 10 months ago, when I took over as the interim director of PRPL, during the budget presentation, one of the assets that I said would be analyzed would be our fee structure. This has been something that has been inconsistent at best, even over the last 25 years. The goal tonight is to do 3 things. 1, to inform you of what we have found as reasonable suggestions for some fee increases, number one. Number two, you'll see that there's a draft resolution. Let me express it, that is a draft. That is definitely for twofold for the new council folks. Gives you an idea of kind of what these resolutions will look like. For those that are not new, shows that there is definitely a bifurcation. This is not an all-inclusive resolution when it comes to fees. For instance, the courts complex will have its own resolution when it comes to court rentals, tournament fees, et cetera, et cetera. And then number three, to give you an idea of, we'll come back with the resolution, incorporate your feedback also into the prices that we have suggested. So with that being said, we're looking at, the best way to describe it is that the department itself, we cannot fee our way out to financial solvency. That's just not going to happen. However, back in June at the budget hearing, one thing I expressed was we're going to work to decrease that margin of operational deficit. With what we've put before you tonight, would do that in excess of about $105,000 in new revenue per year going forward. One of the documents that you will see looks at the actual fee structures of what we're proposing. I didn't know if some of you are paper or electronic only, so I do have hard copy. I have to learn your ways as well. When we looked at this, we looked at it through a variety of lenses. Obviously, the fiscal was the first and foremost. The second was also we have to be mindful of our user groups. Some user groups cannot afford exorbitant fees by any means. The reality of it is that our expenses will continue to go up every year, even if it's just in COLA alone, even if it's just in seasonal wages alone. Parts for irrigation, gas, vehicle maintenance, those parts, all of that will increase every year. What we're trying to do, again, is to just decrease that margin of deficit of how we operate currently. So I know that this was included in your packet. Mayor, I would turn it back to you of looking at specific questions that you all may have regarding these fees. If we cannot answer the question tonight, we will definitely send it out in emails this week.
Go ahead, Ken Shaw.
Hi, which is a question for you, Gavin, to fill in the new people and remind us all. Would you just remind us of the scholarship programs and things that exist currently in the Parks Department? As we're talking about increasing fees, just to know that there are programs and opportunities for people that already can't meet the fees of many of these things, especially the pools.
Mayor and Council and Councilwoman Shaw, absolutely. We have a very robust scholarship program. I could speak to it, but since my superintendent is here who oversees that, I'm going to ask Mr. Thompson to take this question.
Councilmember Shaw, we do have a robust scholarship program with funding available for low-income folks who'd like to either participate in a recreation program or receive a scholarship pool pass, which we issue a numerous amount each summer. So those are available for every single program we offer, including our senior programs as well.
Corey, how does that work on the recreational side? I see on the pool side, you've got it, it's going up from $5 to $10, but how's that recreational side work?
Councilmember Neese, as far as our activities and programs, we evaluate those annually, and we look at our staff increases for wages, any equipment increases that we have, and then set the fee accordingly. Our goal is to always at least break even. What we do is we set a minimum number for every program we offer. If we can meet that minimum number, we then offer the program, and with those fees generated through the registration, we'll meet all of our expenses. We generate additional revenue as we increase the volume of participation. Granted, some of the expenses go up, but when we increase the volume, typically we will see increases across the board. We are set to this year increase activity fees anywhere from 5 to 10% for all programs, youth, adult, and senior. And we are currently working on that right now.
Okay, and maybe I didn't ask that, clarified that enough. How does the scholarship program work in the recreational side? So you've got your fee set for what the program is, you've got your minimum, and so then how do you set that scholarship to make sure that person who can't afford can still attend? Okay, is it a very hard application process to go through, or can you kind of explain so the public knows it's, you know, it's super easy to get? Just want to make sure the public is aware of this.
Yeah.
Can participate.
Councilmember Neese, we don't keep any of the information. We just view basically their 1040 or some kind of verification of household income. Some folks don't have that. We will still work with them to get them a discount.
Great, thank you.
Councilmember Lindley.
It's on, perfect. I'm gonna keep going with scholarship questions. Two questions would be, do you know how many people received scholarships last year? And the funding, is it city funded or is there private funding included?
So mostly private funding. We have various ways to provide funds for that program. We've got our Partners for Parks Foundation. They're a great partner for that, as well as some other user groups that provide money back for that program. The actual number I'd have to dig in and look for you, but it's including the pool fees, well over 100.
Thanks.
Yuri?
Yes, thank you. All of these price hikes are fairly reasonable, but the one that was pretty glaring to me was on the last page, $150 to $500 for event park use permits with 100 plus people. Can you help me understand that large of a jump?
Mayor and council, councilwoman, absolutely. So I'll put it in this perspective. If you were having a family reunion at one of our parks and one of our shelters, you're gonna come in and you're gonna get a park permit. It's gonna cost you $150. Now, let's say the refinery has a big festival or something goes on and they wanna use it for 4 days in one of our parks. Currently, the charges are the exact same. So whether you have 30 people that come in with your family or these bigger events, we're charging you the same. Now, as you can imagine, whether it be garbage pickup, cleaning out the shelter or anything like that, at $150, we recoup that expense. Over 4 days, at $150 for the entirety of the 4 days, we're behind the 8 ball quite a bit.
Can I do a follow-up?
Sure.
Thank you. I'm thinking in terms of some of the event organizers that use the parks for, and I'll use an example. Last year at I believe it was Highland Park on South Side, there was an Easter egg hunt event planned by a local car club, and they are, I believe, a nonprofit, but the work they do in the community is very essential in creating community and also lifting spirits and, you know, all the things that go with making a good neighborhood. So because they have limited funding, then they would still have to pay that $500. Is that correct?
Council, mayor and council and councilwoman, absolutely. And that's where it gets a little tricky. That these prices do not reflect in any way some groups' importance, their impact, or anything like that. If I'm being real honest, I'm being very myopic to my department and going, we need to recover some of our expenses. And this is how we have to do it.
Sir, Mr. Boyette?
So Gavin, bottom line is, I'm a pencil pusher. If we don't raise our rates, what's the ramification?
Mayor and council, Councilmember Boyette, if we do a zero change, it's status quo. We remain at where we're at. Maintenance continues to slide further and further behind. And we're not talking about capital maintenance. We're talking about everyday maintenance. Expenses, we're gonna incur those regardless. Gas is gonna go up. Prices for irrigation parts are gonna go up. And unless we're starting to recover some of that, we're gonna fall further and further behind.
Yeah, you see him, Shaw, you're next.
Okay. So just on to this discussion of I hear what you're saying and I agree, and it is time to adjust these rates. It's been 5 years, almost 6 years. 2 questions for you. One is, how often should we be adjusting these? Does it make sense to put in some kind of just an escalator so that this doesn't have to come back to council all the time? Whatever that looks like, build that into the resolution. That's a question for you. Second one is in the example you used of a big event, it was a multi-day event. Is the situation of one day isn't the problem, or could we break this up into a half-day use of the park, or does that not really work for the way staffing works and cleaning things up? So 2 questions there.
Mayor and council, Councilwoman Shaw, I'll take the easy one first, which is the second question. That is really hard to actually pinpoint a good answer to. You could have a half-a-day event that would completely destroy Pioneer Park, let's say. Or you can have a 4-day event that does the same amount of damage. We're talking turf damage. We're not talking, negligent, we're just talking everyday use. So it's really hard to say that. What we looked at, and I looked at with the park superintendent, Cole McQuillan, who was unable to attend tonight, all we're doing is trying to recover the labor costs, which is the biggest part, and then parts. And we break even with this new structure for the most part. That's not 100% across the board, but for the most part, we'll break even. You're gonna have to remind me of question number 1.
Question number 1 was, should there be an escalator
Right.
in this so it doesn't take a new parks director coming in to be like, hey, it's been 6 years.
So with this draft resolution, and as I stated in the memo, the intent of this now is to start a 3-year consistent timeline of this. That being said, I do think it warrants a different conversation of looking at what are the things that have to come to all of you in the way of because of ordinance, and what are things that do not need to come that could be through administrative order, or it's just baked into our internal policies. That's a conversation that we've only just scratched the surface of.
Anybody who hasn't spoken yet? CM Nicholson?
Do you have a idea in terms of absolute dollars and percentages of what the difference of actual income will be?
So yes, Mayor and Councilman, if you look on the last page that was part of the packet, you'll see that we do break it down with these adjusted fees. Welcome. With these adjusted fees, we kind of kept them in bigger buckets. What we will generate in the way of revenue from swimming pools, picnic shelters, park use permits, neighborhood center rentals, alcohol permits, and the sound stage itself. One thing to keep in mind is that we have about 150 different recreation programs. Recreation programs are not part of this, and we are looking at a 5 to 10% increase in all of our programming as well. So just from what's before you tonight, just north of $105,000. Oh, I would have to break that down. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Before you go, I have one or two. So let's see. First off, since I run restaurants, every time I go to raise the price of a beer, the first thing I do is I go to every bar in town on the phone and find out how much they charge for beer. So that leads up to the, what did you use as a basis for your increases?
Mayor and Council Mayor, excellent question. So I would say that we do something very similar, and we look at other venues that are able to be rented by the public for usage. They are far steeper price than
Yeah,
what
you're a bargain.
our suggested increases are.
You're a bargain. Had you given any thought to, had you given any thought to leaning more heavily into the commercial use of these things? These are the for-profit types of uses, and bumping those a bit so that you could back off on, say, the individual day-use swimming pool stuff.
Mayor and Council and Mayor, we have examined that a little bit. The problem with that is that when we're looking at just take Rose, for instance, we want to cover all of our costs at Rose. So we have to make sure that our lifeguards and maintenance and all of that is done, right? We also were kind of sensitive to our commercial and business partners that we're not gouging them 100% and not the public, but not also gouging the public 100% and leaving the larger entities alone. I would say that I think we have a good balance right now. Is it a perfect balance? No. We will have to work through this to find that sweet spot a little bit. But I do believe what's before you is realistic. One of the conversations that we had also was we never want to be in a point where we close pools. That's an unnecessary pain point because we don't have the funding for things. Again, what this before you looks at is decreasing that margin of deficit, not covering it, not eliminating it.
Okay, let's see anybody who hasn't spoken yet. CM Neese?
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Going back to you mentioned the deficit. So do we know how much this is going to clear of the deficit? And so how much we're short as far as operation?
Mayor and Council, Councilmember Neese, that's a good question. I mean, that would be a percentage again that I would have to calculate.
Okay. That'd be something maybe to bring so we understand really what kind of a dent we're doing. We did this with the parking structure, parking and stuff like that years ago, trying to get those fees increased so that we can actually cover some of the major operating costs and stuff like that. And so I think this is a really good start. So thank you for bringing this. I've been wanting to see something like this for a long time. If you don't mind, I just want to speak to a couple of points about it. The one thing I noticed you didn't adjust was this slide, $1. I know it's not much. I know you like to keep in dollar increments, which is fine. I'd recommend it going to $2. $2 nowadays doesn't get you anything. And so I don't know how much more that's going to add to your revenue, but it's going to cover that cost better in maintaining that slide. And that's only at the Rose Park one. The other thing, and you and I have talked about this before, by the way, I agree with Councilmember Shaw that there should be some type of annual review of this, whether it's automated, like up to 3% that we put in there that you guys have the discretion to do. And if you think you need to recoup some additional costs because if something really went awry, come to us with that rate and we can approve anything over 3%. So that would be my kind of suggestion, give you some leeway to do something like that. And then the other thing is, I see you going to county residents going from, was it $10 to $15? That's not very much. I mean, if you call Bozeman and ask them what it's going to cost to register for an out-of-county program, it's going to be $50 to $100, $150. My recommendation on that would be a minimum of 25, maybe 130% of the resident rate. That doesn't, I mean, my preference would be 150%. You got to understand, I'm suggesting a little bit less because like we do with our city garbage, county is charged basically 150% of the resident rate. So I would suggest you do something like, I would like to see more like that. That would be my opinion. Again, I'm speaking myself on that. So as I look through those, that's kind of what I saw. And then the last thing I saw when I was looking at the fees, increases, decreases, I noticed, and Corey, maybe you can speak to this a little bit better. I noticed the ball fields, It went from a monthly to a seasonal, but overall that should be a decrease for them. And I always have heard that they really have a lot of impact on those fields. Is there a reason why we're able to decrease those and not and still cover those costs?
Councilmember Neese, what we looked at with a monthly versus a season was some of the fields and some of the leagues are only about a 3-month, but some based on either their all-star schedule or a fall ball program will extend beyond that. So instead of just doing a seasonal charge, we looked at it in terms of the monthly based on when they start and when they end, instead of just doing kind of a lump sum, hey, it's a spring program.
Okay, so you're gonna have a combination of season and monthly then?
No, it would just be now changed to just monthly instead of looking at a seasonal.
Oh, I see, okay.
Yeah, because a lot of times if their season starts in March and they play till July, they were just put in the system as a spring seasonal program.
Okay, I apologize. It's not a decrease. It is an increase to cover the cost. I was reading that wrong. Apologize for that.
Okay, anybody else? I guess it falls on to me to boil this down one more time. All right, so I'll just put it out there, and if we have consensus, we can all indicate, but we'd like to see you bring this back to council with, or Dr. Nicholson, a lack of a better term, a pro forma, something that shows us where you are in what you're bringing in and where you want to be, where you believe this will take you. Doesn't need to be big, but just a simple comparison of today versus where we think we would like to get. A number of us would like you to lean in a little more on the commercial numbers, myself included, so that we could take some of the onus off the folks who may not be able to afford this, especially the day rates. And I think that pretty much covers it. Did I miss anything? And an escalator. But there's a, I don't know if I've heard this correctly, but there is a statute that requires us to approve any type of rate increase. So the escalator would not be automatic. It'd have to come back to us. Is that right?
There are some aspects of my department that, yes, we have to come back to you.
So if we can boil that all down, we'd love to see it again. Okay? Yes, CM Lindley.
I was just going to echo what Councilmember Neese said about the county, the out-of-city fees. I do agree that those should be a little bit higher. So that's, I don't know if everybody else or if there's consensus there, but I think that that's something that we should look at.
All right, City Administrator?
I'd ask you, in thinking about that, and it's harder to do the lower the fee is when we're talking $2, $5, whatnot. But for a while there on our solid waste area, we were just kind of randomly year over year picking a different number to charge. And it got real helpful to frankly zero in on a percentage. So your out of city is a certain percentage higher than your in city. Your out of state is double your in state. So I just ask you to think about, rather than kind of just throwing a number at it, think about if there's a kind of policy directive that'll help us be consistent with that across the board.
130% to the next dollar. That'd make it easy.
Okay.
I like what the landfill does. I think that's worked well.
All right, when, in case, if there's nothing else from this group here, sir?
Mayor, may I interject? Just, we are kind of time sensitive on this because we do want to get this to the printers as information in February so we can start advertising our programming.
Great.
January 26th.
26th? That'd be great. That'd be perfect. All right, so I'll open it up to public comment now on this item.
Thank you.
Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'm going to gavel that closed, and we're going to move on to item 4, council appointments to community boards and/or committees and council subcommittees. And you, the tongue twister. Hey, you two, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Good reports. So, C.A. Kukulski?
Yes.
You're on, babe.
All right, thank you, sir. So this too is just a precursor for you a week from now. So by code and by ordinance, you've got to make some decisions right out of the gate. So the first grouping there, and none of these are to be decided this evening, but it's just to give you a prep in thinking about what you're going to do a week from tonight. You got community boards and commissions, they're listed there, that ultimately each of you or somebody from the city council ends up being the council representative on there. So those decisions will need to be made next week. I think for the most part, the boards are pretty simple to go out online and get their purpose and service and determine for yourself kind of your interest there. The one that we thought maybe isn't quite as obvious is the first one, the Babcock Theater Board. And that is a relationship of which the city owns the Babcock Theater in a condoed building. And so there's an interplay of a relationship there. It is an issue that, because as we're all aware, unfortunately, with the failed maintenance of the facility, it's been closed for a little while. My point being, though there's not been a lot of activity from the city council over the past several years on this issue, I absolutely think in 2026 there will be. So getting in there, being a part of figuring out how do we make decisions for our community. And I think of, you got all kinds of examples of successes in our community, the Alberta Bear Theater, the Moss Mansion, and other things. This is just at its kind of infancy stage relative to what is it going to be, and it's ultimately a decision for this body and the other owners. So other than that, I think you can go out and see Bright and Beautiful or Big Sky Economic Development, and you can get all the education you want relative to what's the board's purpose and function. Any questions I can answer relative to boards and commissions before we move to the next part?
I think, tell us a little bit about the process.
So the process, my recollection is the mayor, are they different for each of these? Or I'm thinking the mayor, with consensus of the council, is kind of in the driver's seat of who sits on what. But what I've seen consistently over that last 8 years is, again, we don't have any arm wrestling contest or anything.
Sounds
People
good.
are pretty cordial if figuring out, okay, who wants to volunteer for this one, who wants to volunteer for that one. And ultimately, it's an internal process for you guys.
Sounds good. So then I would recommend that by Thursday at 4 o'clock, send to my email your desires and dare to dream big. If you want to be on all the boards. And then I will meet with our deputy mayor and the two of us will work together to assign. Okay? Are there any questions or comments regarding this? All right. Yes. See.
Just a quick question. Are we permitted to be on more than one? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You.
We'd be grateful if you were on more than one.
Order.
Yes, Deputy Mayor.
I went on our website today, and your names are on the website, but no information is on there about your email or your phone number on our city website as of 4 o'clock. So hopefully that information will be upgraded tomorrow because now you're part of it. So you'll have your phone number and your email address, hopefully.
Great point.
So we just so you know, staff has quite a bit of work went into getting that taken care of, and then, as you can imagine, my phone blew up right after the swearing in from all those saying thank you. Those who are stepping off, that is. No,
okay.
So that's staff's getting that information pulled up for you. So then the next bucket there,
yes, sir,
is council subcommittees. So these are just that. These are subcommittees of the council. They are quite new. They did not exist except for these last few years. So I do think Councilmember Shaw and the prior council worked pretty diligently on creating these. There was actually one consolidation. We started off with 4. One was consolidated, that being local affairs and legislative were 2 separate ones. that's consolidated into one. I think it would be, ultimately, it's entirely an internal process. It's up to you guys how you do that. And we have a resolution that created this. And I would encourage, I think it would be a good exercise, frankly, to pull out that resolution, verify, remind yourselves if you were here, get acquainted if you're new as to what the purpose and function are, and ask the questions. Are these boards doing and accomplishing what we need them to do? And if they're not, why not? What should be changed, if anything? And yeah, so I think that would be a worthy exercise as part of that conversation. But ultimately, they're not in statute, they're not in code. I think they're by resolution that they were created.
All right, so what would our deadline on that be? Same? Thursday at 4 o'clock? Yes.
Just a little context
Shaw.
to this, because I did bring forward this initiative several years ago, as Chris remembers, to start these, and it's been an evolution. And so very much they're open to the direction that the people on them want to take the committees in. Originally, we kind of conceived of them as someone from each ward would serve on legislative and local affairs or budget and finance. So you'd have every council member serving on a committee, and that was just an easy way to kind of talk to your ward partner, figure out who wants to do which. It doesn't have to go that way, but especially for the legislative committee, that's the one I've been on, and I'm currently the chair of. But it's been nice to really have ward representation as we are talking about bills in Helena, to feel like we've got voices from all of the wards. So that one I would definitely encourage that we think about it like that, because I think otherwise you can end up with like, well, you only have the people who represent the downtown and the Heights, and you don't have anybody out from the West End, which for legislative bills can be a problem.
Okay.
I would echo that with the budget, because I was on the legislative committee too, but I would rely on the budget committee people and talk to them about that, and my ward mate to kind of fill me in what's going on. So it's really helpful to kind of, we're basically conquering and dividing, and splitting up our time to be able to go to these different committees and help, look at all the issues prior to them coming to council. And it really does help.
What did I read? Do I remember correctly that in the resolution, every council member is an ad hoc member of every committee if they want to be?
They're public meetings, yeah. So we encourage, more council members are welcome to come. Minutes are taken, they're recorded, the public's welcome to come. We just, in terms of who votes on the committee, and again, it's nothing binding for council. It's usually, do we have a recommendation as a committee to bring to the full body?
I see.
Just as a way to kind of keep it orderly and to keep us in general at less than a quorum, so we don't run into other problems.
All right.
But everyone's welcome to come to all meetings.
Yeah, the mayors show up on every single one.
I'm sure. I'm really looking forward to it. And brought lunch. Yeah, thanks. All right, sir.
Okay, so then the last category, Mayor, is Urban Renewal Advisory Committee. So there are 3 urban renewal districts in the city: the eBird to the kind of northeast downtown core area, Suburra to the south, and the downtown core area. So now it's actually in statute. That's a change from a recent recently the state legislature moved this from being optional to mandating that there is a representative from this body, the school board, representing the schools, as well as representing the county. So these are ones that, again, one of you, whether you choose to, and in the past, I think they've been 3 different individuals, but nothing mandates that it's 3 different individuals. But you've got 3 urban renewal districts. They have separate meeting schedules and things like that. And it's now statutorily required that a representative from this body is appointed to represent you there. There, just a little bit of background, their primary focus and purpose, up to you, is making recommendations. At the end of the day, you adopt their budget, you sign off on their budget, and they're making recommendations as to how to spend urban renewal funds. They're not the final say, but they're a critical partner to these areas redeveloping.
And these are voting positions on the board, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, they are. Do you, it would seem to me that it would be best to have representation from that part of town. In other words, the Suburra should have somebody. Well, then you're on all three.
Well, Mayor.
Yeah, you're right, they are.
Why do we
Okay.
have other words? Is that what I heard?
Mayor.
Well, you can tell I'm new. All righty. Anything else on
Mayor.
that?
Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so to the point, just to let you know, the legislator, the legislative created this because they wanted outside diverse opinions representing those other entities that's impacting. So in this case, when you have a TIF district that's organized, the money is being, of course, saved and worked in that district. But those outside that district, because that money's not going into the general fund, has to typically cover some of the costs outside. So I don't think it needs to be that ward because there's a lot of representation within that TIF district from the ward.
Great point.
And so I think having someone outside that ward may give that better perspective of how it's impacting the rest of the city.
Thank you for that. Any other discussion regarding this? I would suppose then our deadline should be, how about Thursday at 4 o'clock? All right, any other discussion regarding this item? So I'm going to open it up as required to public comment on this item only. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes if there are any. Any public comment? All right, well then I'm closing this part of the agenda. And I'm going to move on to highlight upcoming agenda items of council interest. That would be you, City Administrator Kukulski.
So Mayor and Council, the intent here isn't to just preview what's coming up in the next week. It is to kind of set up some of the bigger conversations. I think that was its original intent. But getting out of the gate here, with us being so new to information, I am primarily, at least tonight, just going to focus on just highlighting some things that you're going to see next week on the decision side of the house. So on consent, we've got a very critical issue. That is our labor contract with the police department is on the agenda for approval. We've got, as we just talked, board appointments. Also per charter, mayor pro tem decision is next week coming up. So those are kind of highlights. Larger picture issues are, as you're aware, we recently adopted the capital improvement plan. We immediately start, frankly, when a new calendar year starts, getting into the budget process. Not at this table, but recognize you got department heads and department staff who are working that. So that critical process that you won't see really until late winter, early spring, but it's being worked on diligently internally well before then. So I'll just stop there. And yeah.
Thank you, sir. Any council discussion? All right, well, we're going to move to excuse me, Councilperson Pittman, sir.
I'm not sure if this would be the point for a place to put this, but okay. Oh,
there you go.
But as far as the structure of how we're meeting at work sessions, I would like the council to consider moving us back up into our seats where we have the monitors and everything is easy to see, and we can hear and see everybody that's coming in. I've been pivoting all night long, and I know we can switch seats and things like that, but I think it would just be a more effective way for us to operate. So I would like us to consider that.
All right. Thank you for that.
I know Kevin would like that.
Pardon me?
Kevin would like that. Facility staff.
Yeah. We'd save 3 hours of labor, which is kind of expensive. So that's probably not a bad idea. All right, we're going to move on to public comment on non-agenda items. If there's any, please feel free to come up. You'll get 3 minutes to speak your mind.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Councilman Paul Clark, Southside. Parks and Recs Department, we're trying to understand Southside, for example, we have the Chicano restore on the cars. beautiful. It's a lot of fun. It's very family oriented. I love it. Cinco de Mayo is another one, but I'm not sure are we paying for the use to use our own city park? And if so, isn't that part of our tax dollars that we're spending already? And I'd like to know a little clarification when we get back to the Thursday 4 o'clock meeting. The other one is, of course, the labor contract for the Billings Police Department. I am all in. Fire Department too. I don't know what kind of hours that the fire department uses. If they're all in, are they 40-hour work weeks, 12 months out of the year? That's kind of an unclarified situation. I'd like to know if I have my firemen here, I want them here 12 hours a day, 40 hours a work week, and that seems to be a problem with the contract, if I remember right. Another thing is the speed bumps that happen on Shiloh, Wicks. We're killing people, you guys. Motorcycles are being bungholes as far as trying to do a wheelie from the main street all the way to the end to Walmart. It's got to stop. And how do you stop it? You slow down the speed. I was aware that they were going to charge more for speeding tickets or reckless driving. That's fine. But hey, there's another idea. And it came on Hallowell and King Avenue, the first couple blocks, and they are dips. All right. I have a trike, I have a Harley. There's nothing worse than hitting that dip, especially if I don't know if it's there. So, and trust me, I'm past the point of trying to be 110 miles an hour in a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. Those days are gone. But they're not gone for these people that are being arrested at midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, coming from church, whatever. So we need to get a handle on that. One of the things that brought up to my attention was we are all required to have liability insurance on our vehicles, no matter what. And if some person gets in an accident and doesn't have his liability or her liability insurance, there has to be repercussions for that. There's maybe a way to generate some revenue, and that would be by impounding the vehicle and impounding the vehicle so that they've got to pay an enormous fee to get that thing out of there. It's one idea besides taxes. Also on the park and recs, real quick, the swimming pool. Do we know what a $9 million project on the swimming pool looks like? Okay, and that's all I have. Go Cats.
Thank you. I promise I'll get another timer by next week. Yeah, how about an update before we adjourn?
21-7. Cats.
Go Cats. And on that great note, we are adjourned.